Hello and welcome to a very exciting video, and that is my complete spoiler filled review of Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So, to sum it up, I give it a 9 out of 10. This movie was absolutely fantastic. I loved it so much, and I cannot wait to rewatch it. Starting off with like the Autobots, Prime in this film is an absolute badass. So of course, this is kind of a younger Optimus, and he does not like the humans at all. Obviously, when the museum mission goes wrong, he blames the humans, which people are complaining about, but clearly they were not paying attention to what this movie was trying to tell us. Is that obviously Optimus and the humans are kind of focusing on themselves. And it's only when the dilemma with the transwarp key comes in that they decide, we have to, look out for each other. And that was an amazing scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes is when Noah is about to destroy the transwarp key and Prime is just there, desperate, begging him not to do it. He just goes, "Please, Noah." So yeah, Optimus in this film was so awesome. He had some of the best lines, especially when he transforms and he goes, "I will take back Scourge's key and then take off his head." That is such a fucking brutal line. And coming from Optimus, that is just... And another one was when, like, during the bridge fight, when Scourge is fighting him, he says, "I love your fire, Prime, but you're going to die here on this speck of dust." And then that is probably the most badass dialogue exchange from any of the movies. Prime goes, "I can think of no better place to bury you." Holy shit. Anyway, that's enough of me quoting the movie, but let's just start. Yeah, so with the rest of the Autobots, Bumblebee in this movie, sadly, he's very sidelined. He only has he has the beginning, obviously. He dies, and then only towards the end of the movie he comes back. Which, most of us expected, but I don't really understand why they did that. Next up, let's talk about RC. RC in this movie, she didn't really do much compared to like Optimus and Primal, but she was very agile. She was doing a lot of flips and things. And yeah, she was just there. And I do feel that this RC is probably the best design one we've seen. And let's just talk about... I honestly don't know who to talk about first. But let's just do Mirage first. Mirage completely stole the show in this film. He was undoubtedly my favorite Autobot. He was... I prefer Optimus, but okay. From the new editions, he was my favorite character. He was just so funny, and you can't help but love him. I don't understand how there's people out there who hated him. He was just so much fun, and yeah, he was awesome. And of course, we have to talk about it. My favorite Easter egg from the movie was him turning into the F1 car for like those 2 seconds. I just audibly screamed. I was like, "The F1 car!" So yeah, that was pretty cool. But now let's talk about the one which, I was so looking forward to it. Well, I wasn't like super looking forward to it, but I was interested to see what they do. And that is Pablo, Wheeljack. So obviously the design many people did not like. I actually really loved it. And that was mainly because I didn't really have an attachment to the character of Wheeljack. But obviously I did watch Transformers Prime, and seeing that Wheeljack, oh man, he was so cool. So now seeing this one, I'm like, okay, I'm up for a new interpretation of him. What the fuck did they do? They turned him into like a little Spanish child. He was horrible, and he was so dumb as well. Like, when obviously we were all looking forward to the scene where RC is like hanging on the side of him. She goes, "Break, break." Wheeljack goes, "What?" So fucking useless. I hated him in this movie. I was waiting for him to die. Unfortunately, he did not. Unfortunately, Airazor bit the dust. And let's just talk about that. The Maximals in this movie. Primal and Airazor were the ones who mainly got the spotlight, let's be honest. So between the two, I'm honestly gonna say that Airazor was my favorite. Because, well, in terms of writing, obviously Primal is just so badass. Primal was so badass, but in terms of like a character, I really liked Airazor, which I did not expect, because Airazor seemed like she was just gonna be the wheeljack of the Maximals. You know, very, very sidelined. No one really cared about her. She was barely in the marketing. She didn't transform in the movie, which, yeah, a lot of us expected, but like, I don't really understand that. But what they did with her character, I thought was just so cool, because obviously, after the bridge fight, Scourge attaches like some sort of device to her wing, and it basically ends up possessing her. Scourge ends up controlling Airazor, and that leads to undoubtedly the most heartbreaking scene of the movie, and that is her death. Now, usually Transformer deaths aren't that sad, let's be honest, but what made Airazor's death sad is that it wasn't even like a villain who killed her. It was her leader. It was Optimus Primal. Primal was the one who killed her, and what makes it even sadder is that she told him to do it. You know, she said no matter the cost, and he ends up basically hugging her and just squeezing her chest until she dies. And that was the most heartbreaking scene. Not Bumblebee's death, not even Mirage's, well, quote unquote, death. Airazor, oh man, that was heartbreaking. Optimus Primal in this film was so cool. And, you know, I said from a writing perspective that Airazor was my favorite. Primal was also damn good because he did something that was like so fan servicey, and I feel like a lot of people aren't really paying attention to it. And that is, he kind of laid the ground bridge for Prime to become the Optimus that we know and love. Because even Primal says he's not the Optimus Prime I expected. And he kind of teaches Optimus, you know, how to be a leader, or at least how Primal is. And that's what I really love, that if it's not for Primal, then Optimus probably would never develop. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it for the Maximals, unfortunately, because Cheetor and Rhinox are just completely sidelined. Cheetor literally says two things. He just goes, "Sorry for scaring you, my friend." And then, like, later on, he says something. I don't even know what he says. Oh my god, I was so excited because the dude who voices him is literally he's from one country away from me. So to have him only say two lines is just so annoying. But what's even worse is Rhinox. Rhinox said one thing. I didn't even notice it in the cinema. I was like, Rhinox never said a thing in this movie. But no, he did actually say something. He says, "We'll clear the way," or something like that. What the fuck was that, man? Stephen Cable Jr., I thought you loved Beast Wars. Why would you do this? I just couldn't believe it. And we didn't even get like a good shot of the Maximals in their robot mode, which really sucked. And speaking of the robot mode, we do actually get a look at Optimus Primal without his battle mask. And people are complaining that it was lazy because it's just his ape mouth. But if you watch how he transforms in the movie, it makes total sense, because when they maximize in the battle, Optimus Primal, his robot mode face kind of comes over the ape face. So obviously, if he retracts his mouth guard in robot mode, then obviously his ape face will be exposed. So that makes complete sense. I don't understand why people are annoyed by that. But anyway, whatever. I don't want to spend any more time on the Maximals, because that's kind of the reason why I give the movie a 9 out of 10, is that Cheetor and Rhinox were just completely sidelined. And yeah, now let's talk about the Terracons. Really, it's just Scourge, because Nightbird does pretty much nothing in this movie, unfortunately. Battletrap at least gets one cool moment, and it wasn't even because of him, it was his death scene where he says, "Somebody give me a real fight." And then Optimus Primal just grabs the wrecking ball and he's like, "If it's a fight you want, here I am," or something like that. And then Prime and Primal team up on Battletrap, cut his arm off, and then Primal just goes like to town on him. He takes the wrecking ball, and in the most brutal Transformers death, I don't care what anyone says, this is the most brutal death in the franchise. Primal takes the wrecking ball and just keeps slamming and slamming and slamming it on Battletrap. And then, of course, just to lighten the mood, Prime goes, "He was mine." So that was pretty good. But now let's talk Scourge. Oh my god. I love Lockdown. Everyone knows I love Lockdown. He's my favorite villain. But Scourge in this movie, he's my favorite now. He was so awesome, but mainly he was terrifying. Starting with the way they introduce him with Ape Link. I will talk about the opening, yes. Starting with the opening, Scourge just like Ape Link is looking into the dark forest, and then you just see Scourge's chest and his eyes glowing in the darkness, and it is absolutely terrifying because we've never had someone like this in Transformers. We never had kind of like a horror-oriented character. And yes, there are some horror elements in this movie, especially with Frieza. With the moments with Frieza and the humans, like in the museum scene and in the cave, there are a couple jump scares, and Frieza is honestly pretty creepy. So yeah, I like how they did that. And yeah, I mean, back to Scourge. This dude is bloody, like, oh my god, he's a badass. I mean, it does kind of ruin the opening in one aspect, and that is that Ape Link, who's supposed to be like the strongest Maximal, he's the leader. He gets one punch on Scourge, and then Scourge stabs him and then blows him apart. Like, what the fuck was that point? They just completely destroyed Ape Link. And obviously we do see Scourge take the Maximal symbol, and then he like solders it onto his shoulder, which is just so awesome. But yeah, and just talking about that opening, man, this is probably the best opening from a Transformers movie. The only one that can rival it is Bumblebee, and I feel like I might end up preferring the Bumblebee opening. But yeah, this movie's opening was so awesome. It is exactly what I predicted. We see the Maximals, and then Ape Link will try and stand up to Scourge, and then Scourge just basically says, "Listen, you're gonna die," and then Unicron comes along and just completely destroys the planet. And I mean, let's just talk about Unicron. Unicron in this movie, oh man, you can tell they know what they were doing with him, because first of all, he looked amazing and made for one of the most awesome like title card things, because obviously when he's destroying the Maximal planet, the pieces of the planet kind of go into his mouth with the camera, and then they form the title card, Transformers Rise of the Beast, which is just so sick. Every time Unicron spoke, my seat literally shook. Seeing this thing in 3D IMAX is an experience. This was just amazing, and I do not regret obviously going in 3D IMAX. But unfortunately, I've sang this movie's praises a lot. Speaking of which, before I go to the negatives, the music. Oh my god, the music in this movie, I loved it. I loved that they used On My Soul in the final battle, and they also mixed it with, I don't even know the song's name. If anyone knows the song name, please tell me. It's this song. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know the name of the song, but yeah. So yeah, that the whole thing was sick. Of course. When Prime closes the portal to Unicron, they play Arrival to Earth. And it took me a couple seconds And then I just sprung out of my seat and I just started humming. Oh man, that was so cool. This movie is just absolutely amazing. But of course, like I said, I give it a 9 out of 10. Because obviously Cheetor and Rhinox didn't really do anything, but also because of the ending. Yes, obviously for those who have not seen, well, I don't know why you'd be watching this if you didn't see the movie, but anyway, the ending we all knew from the non-spoiler reviews we saw, sorry. The ending was like super surprising and everything. Now obviously I knew that there was going to be a post-credit scene teasing a G.I. Joe crossover. And when it happened in the movie and Noah flipped the card and I see G.I. Joe, I just audibly screamed no. Because come on, I mean G.I. Joe, it's been irrelevant for so many years, and all it's gonna be is them piggybacking off of Transformers. Because really, you literally just saved the Transformers franchise. Why are you doing this? And it's Lorenzo's fault. It's Lorenzo de Bonaventura's fault. Because he's like, oh, we've been trying to do this for a long time, blah, blah, blah. Dude, no one cares. We just want the Transformers. Not everything has to be a cinematic universe. That is why, yes, obviously I love Marvel, but they just ruined movies because now you just can't have a franchise by itself anymore. It has to cross over with something else. And it's so annoying. Just if they do, end up doing the whole G.I. Joe thing, please just leave it out of the Transformers franchise and continue it by itself. Because, I mean, let's be honest, who gives a fuck about G.I. Joe these days? It's just the last movie completely bombed at the box office and just no one cares about it anymore. So why are you trying to use Transformers to make G.I. Joe relevant again? I just don't understand this. Yes, obviously I do know that they crossed over in like comics and stuff, cartoons, but really, this is a live action franchise. This, if you do this right, then these movies are gonna make a lot of money. But if you just fuck it up by crossing it over with something that no one cares about, then you're just gonna ruin it and lose a lot of money and, audience members. But yeah, I mean, speaking of money, this movie on its opening weekend made more than Across the Spider-Verse did, which I cannot believe because yes, obviously I love Transformers, but really, I honestly thought there was no hope that it would beat Across the Spider-Verse's opening weekend. So yeah, that's pretty insane. But yeah, overall, before I end up, I have to say, this movie, another reason why I love it is that they actually made us care about the humans. I really loved Noah's character, and even just little moments, like obviously like his brother, having like a disease, and even just a little thing of like them calling each other Sonic characters, like Noah is Sonic, Chris is Tails, and then he called Mirage Knuckles, which I thought was just pretty cool. But yeah, even the little things, like even the kind of racist implications of the boss that he wanted to apply he was applying for the job, and the dude was like, oh, it's people like you. And he's like, what do you mean people like me? So yeah, that really made me feel sorry for him. But yeah, definitely I liked Noah a lot more than Elena. Now there's no hate on Elena, obviously, but I just felt more invested in Noah. But yeah, I mean, even, the things with Elena I thought were quite entertaining. Like her trying to figure out the air razor thing. And, that's what kind of makes the ending a little bit better is, knowing that the whole G.I. Joe idiot place is, kind of paying for the brother's medicine and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was pretty good. I really liked that. Also, another funny moment with Noah I liked was when they met Wheeljack. And Wheeljack was like, a little racist. And then Noah was like, he's a robot. How is that racist? No, that was probably one of the funniest bits of the movie, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, that was my overall review for Transformers Rise of the Beasts. I freaking love this movie. I give it a 9 out of 10, and hopefully the Maximals do come back for the next one. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.